Hello and welcome to my beginner's Kumihimo braiding tutorial. Today I'm going to talk you through how to make a basic 8-strand bracelet. If you've got the kit, my rainbow braiding kit, you'll get everything here included within the kit. But if not, I'm just going to talk you through the basic items that you need to get started. The first item is your braiding board or braiding disc. So this is for the 8-strand, we're going to use a round disc, and as you can see it's got grooves around the outside, numbers from 1 to 32. The numbers aren't that relevant really. We'll be using the north, east, south and west points on the board to start off with, but you've also got some little arrows which will help to remind you to turn the disc each time you make a braid. So that's our first item. Second item is you will need 8 strands of braid. Now, to make a basic bracelet, this is 1.5mm rainbow cord. To make a basic bracelet, you will need 1/2 metre of each strand, and have them all tied at the bottom. So I've done that already. So I've got my cord, my board. Then we're going to add a little charm to the bracelet at the end, so I've got that. And also I have, these are end caps, so you've got the 2 end caps which come attached with a lobster clasp and an extension chain. So that's useful if you're making a bracelet for somebody and you don't necessarily know the exact measurement of their wrist. The extension chain is quite handy because it gives you an extra couple of inches to play with. You can't really see it, but just over here in this corner here as well, I've got a couple of pieces of cotton that I've cut up, and I'll be using that to help tie off the ends before I attach the clasp. Now, if you have got the kit, one thing that isn't included in the kit is glue. So any kind of super glue or E6000 or F6000 glue, it will be absolutely perfect, and that will help you to secure your braid into your clasp at the end. So let's get started. Let's just move all of these other little bits out of the way for now, because to start off with, all we're going to need is the board itself and the braid. So starting off with braiding board, I'm going to position my knot in the middle of my board, and then just get in my threads. I'm going to just organise these a little bit better. I'm going to put 2 threads at the top either side of the north, or sort of like number 1 marker. Then position 2 threads either side of this east or number 9 marker. And I don't really want 2 yellow ones next to each other, so I think what I'll do is just bring one of the green ones under. So 2 either side of west and 2 either side of south. Now, I don't know if you can see that there, but I've pulled each of my threads quite nice and taut, so that my knot is in the middle and my threads are now pulled nice and taut either side of north, east, south and west. So that is my beginner's point. The next thing I'm going to do to start the actual braid off, just move these cords out of the way, is I'm going to bring the top right strand down to the bottom right strand, so to the right hand side of the 2 that I already had there. As I pulled it down, I've kept it nice and taut. I'm then going to pick up the bottom left strand and move it to the top left of the strand that was left there. Once you've done that, you move the board 90 degrees. Now I find it easier to follow the direction of the arrows, and so I'm going anti-clockwise. You can equally go clockwise and go the opposite way. It doesn't matter. The important thing is that you maintain the same direction each time we move the board. So I've started anti-clockwise, so I will continue anti-clockwise all the way around the braid. And then we repeat. So top right, down to bottom right, keeping my braids nice and taut, bottom left to top left, and move. Top right to bottom right, bottom left to top left, and move. And you just continue on like this all the way down the braid. So we'll carry on and try not to pick up one of the other braids there. So just pull that out of position, that's it, and move. So it's top right to bottom right, bottom left to top left, and turn. To get a good bracelet length, you want each of the strands to be measured at about ½ metre in length when you get started. That will give you more than enough for an adult size bracelet, and then obviously if you're making a bracelet for a child you'll need less, but it's still a good length to work to, because it means when you take the braid off the board, if it's longer than you need for a bracelet, you can actually choose the best section of the braid that you want. Now if I wanted to stop, I would bring my top right to bottom right, so I've got 3 strands along the bottom, and leave it like that. If you don't do that, and if I'd have moved that top left to bottom left to the top left and put it down, when I pick it up I wouldn't know where I was at, whether I turned or not, and which strand to move first. Whereas by bringing the top right down to the bottom right and leaving the 3 at the bottom, I know it doesn't matter where that gets moved to. When I pick it up, right, I'm starting from bottom left to top left, turn. So just bring one down again to stop, because I think now if I just turn this over, just try and get that focused in a little bit better, you should be able to see your braid starting to appear through the middle of the hole, like so. So if we continue on, which I'll do that. Turn, and then you carry on. And what I'm going to do is just pop this one aside, because I've got one that I've been working on, so I'm just going to replace it with this one, just like that, where you can see the braid. I pretty much finished this one now, so I'm just going to finish it off because I'd left the 3 at the bottom. I know exactly where I was. And what I would recommend that you do is keep braiding until you run out of cord. One other thing that is really also important to mention is that as you're braiding, try and keep these strands nice and tight on the board. If they start to loosen up a little bit, you can just give them a bit of a pull underneath to keep them nice and tight. So I think I have got more than enough cord now to complete my bracelet. So the next step is to remove the braid from the board, and to do that just pull out the cords carefully from the board, and you can just pull the board away. Now you will start to see the braid starting to loosen a little bit on the end, but in all they should remain quite tight. And one thing that I'm going to do, and that I recommend you do before we start thinking about adding clasps, is to just give the cord and give the braid a nice sort of pull to pull it. And as you can see, it starts to get a bit longer and narrower. Naturally, as you've braided, when you take the braid off the board, there will be a little bit of give in the braid. So it's better if you give it a nice sort of pull and stretch it out now. It can't stretch any more now. So it means that if you didn't do that and you made the bracelet, as you start to wear the bracelet, it might naturally pull out, and you'll find that the bracelet might increase in size, and that could mean it's a bit too big for you. Whereas if you give that braid a bit of a pull to start off with, then you've pulled it out, and means that won't happen. Now I am going to see, I need about that much to make my bracelet. So I've still got a little bit of length on my cord. I could have carried on a little bit further, but that is enough. And I think from there to there is where I want my bracelet to be. So this is the fiddliest part, and this is where you might need an extra pair of hands. I've just picked up one of those strands of cotton. Just make sure I'm still in shot. And all I'm going to do, I'm just losing the focus there, that's it. All I'm going to do is just tie a knot on that cotton around where I want to add one of my clasps. So I'm going to pull it really tight, keeping my finger onto the knot. Pull it through and pull it again. So you can see I've tied the cotton around the braid, and I'm just going to cut off the two ends of that cotton. So it's very difficult to see, but there you have my tiny cotton knot. So that will keep that braid nice and tight when I come to cut the ends. And I'm going to repeat the same on the other side, because once I cut that knot off, the braid can start to unravel. So tying this knot around the braid before I cut the ends off will just help to ensure that the braid stays nice and tight. So sorry if it went a little bit blurry there. I just think there's a lot of movement on the screen while I was tying that knot. Okay, so I've tied the other one. So my bracelet length is going to be from this point to this point where my two pieces of cotton are. Now, before adding the clasp, I'm going to pick up from over here my heart charm. So you don't have to add a little charm to it, but like I say, if you've ordered the kit, this will be included. I'm going to take the ends, so just pull them so that they're nice and tight. And I'm going to add each of these strands. Just get that last one. Well, I've got two more to just thread through. So I can pull the cotton flat and push that one through, and then I've got one more to get in. So again, I don't know if you can see very well. And just pull the cotton flat, which makes some more space on the bail. It's a little bit snug, but I can just about get all 8 strands through. Now it's easier to add this clasp like this using the ends of the cord than trying to add it once you've knotted it. So I'm just going to pull that onto my bracelet, and as you can see, just get that into focus, it's a nice snug fit on my bracelet. Now I'm going to use my scissors to cut off all these ends that I don't need. Now I know it's quite hard to see, but my bit of cotton is just here, so I'm going to cut probably about, you can see my cotton is here, there, so I've cut about 3 millimeters to the left hand side of that, and I'm going to repeat the same here. So my cotton is just where my nail is, so making sure I don't cut my fingers off, and you can just trim some of the ends if needs be. Now because I've put that piece of cotton on, see my bracelets coming together. This one's going to be for my daughter, so it's quite small. I've got my 2 pieces of cotton here, and then the ends, which I'm now going to glue into the end caps. So here are my end caps. First thing I'm going to do is just separate them. So you will have one end cap will be with the lobster clasp. So I lose, it goes a bit blurry when I put my fingers in the frame there. And the other one has the extension chain. So just taking the glue, I find it good to put a bit of glue on the very tip of the braid. I find it good to put a bit of glue on the braid and then put a bit of glue inside, you can see, inside the clasp itself. Pick the braid up and just push. Oh, I've got a, that's it, and just push all of the braid and all of the ends into that end cap. So again, I'm going to repeat the same on this side. Oh, sticking to me. I'm going to put a bit of glue into the end cap itself. Set that down, and then just put some glue on the end of the braid. Now taking the braid, just push it in and make sure, if you give it a little twist as you push it, I've got one little cord that's still sticking out there. That's it, and just twist it as you push it in and make sure, just got a little bit, there we go. That's it. And make sure all of the braid and the cotton is tucked inside that end cap. And that's it, you are done. Now I'll just do this up. But really, you are best to wait for 24 hours for the glue to dry. Get some off my fingers. you can position your little heart charm, just move it roughly into the middle, and there you go. You have a beautiful rainbow braided bracelet with a little heart charm. So it's lovely to get. Like I say, this one is for my daughter, so I've made it quite small, but you can see all the excess cord that I had. So you can still make, I could have probably braided another good inch before I ran out of cord onto my board. But there you go. That is your basic 8-strand Kumihimo braided bracelet.